Connect Run Club podcast, episode number 80. Jens Anderson. Hey, welcome back, runners, to the podcast. We are excited that you're with us today, and I'm excited to talk to someone from my family's original homeland. Actually, he's not from Norway. Jens is not from Norway, but he's in Norway currently.
He isn't. He's from Holland.
He is from Holland.
Originally, he's 25, and he has made a really cool website.
He has.
And we'll get into that in a minute.
Absolutely.
But I was thinking of Norway. And the only thing I can think of with Norway is that ride at Disney World.
Yes.
Like the boat ride
which is
thing.
no longer.
It's not there anymore?
They're turning that into like some Frozen attraction or something.
I get
like
that.
Frozen's taken over Disney, unfortunately.
They've made them a lot of money.
They have made
I was terrified of that ride, though. Like growing up, like that crazy monster thing, and you're about to go off the back of this thing. And, So when he said Norway, that was the first thing. So sorry about that. We're not very culturally sensitive.
We're not.
But lots of cool stuff coming out of Norway, including a really cool website. So if you guys have ever wanted some running shoes, we think this is going to be a great one for you. But before we dive into that, Trey, let's talk about our Facebook group. So anything from there that you've been seeing lately? Yeah,
a couple of things that stand out. Watching some of the races that go on each and every week and what some of our amazing runners are doing each and every week is fantastic. In fact, I was looking at one of them who I wanted to do this race here in Atlanta called the Granite Crusher, and I saw one of our Connect Run Club members finish the Granite Crusher the other day. And then the other thing I like doing is you can go on there and ask a question, and on Thursdays we're trying to do a little Q&A with me.
Thursday Q&A.
And so we're getting a lot of questions coming in about speed and so forth. So I'm excited to do some questions again this week.
Yeah, so if you guys want to join that, I'm going to throw the link back up there. It's connectrunclub.com/Facebook, and we'll take you straight to the private group. It's closed, but if you accept, or if you request to be in, then I will accept you pretty quick. And Trey, as of this weekend, we're over 500.
Nice.
So I think when I pulled this graphic, actually, we're at 501, if it looks like.
Beautiful.
Some other things we wanted to let you guys know about. If you guys like this podcast, we're up to episode 80. We'd love if you would leave a rating and a review. And you guys can do that just by going to iTunes, pull the podcast up, and let us know what you think. It doesn't have to be a 5-star. It could be a 1-star. We just love to know what you guys think. So leave it there. Feedback is greatly appreciated. Or reach out to us on Twitter at Connect Run Club, because we enjoy bringing some great guests to you, including Jens. I want to like Jens. I want to say Hans is what I keep wanting to go to. So so this week we're talking about a website called RunRepeat, which is actually doing some really cool stuff. So Trey, give them kind of a rundown of what that looks like, and then I'm going to pull up the website as we're talking.
Jens, you're welcome. I may or may not have given you some business already since we recorded the podcast.
You already bought running shoes?
But they had a really good deal. So here's the thing. The website is absolutely fantastic. You know, a lot of us, I think this is the biggest question a lot of us have is about running shoes. And so, the easy thing to do, well, not the easy thing, but the most simple thing to do is to go to your local running store.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who knows your foot, knows what you're looking for, a lot of times you lack a good resource. You can go on and read all the reviews you want to, but it's really hard to find a centralized location where you're getting experts talking about the shoe, and you're also getting reviews from others. And so they've created, in my mind, a great one-stop shop for you to do everything from a running shoe perspective. So you can read about the shoe, the good, the bad. They have the bottom line on here, and they also have a great place for deals. So they have some incredible deals on here. But the thing I like about it is it's not centered to one brand. They have just about every brand you can imagine, and they've got them all ranked. And so to me, it's probably the best running shoe website that I've used. Yeah,
it's very cool. And if you guys are watching the video feed of this, which you, if you're listening to iTunes, if you go to Connect Run Club and just look up episode 80, it's going to take you there. But you guys can see on the site, they have just thousands of shoes with hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of runner reviews. And so imagine like a Google for Facebook, or kind of like a Rotten Tomatoes, how you go and you see like all the rankings from other movies.
Yep.
They kind of aggregate that all together, and then they add some review stuff on top of it. So they're doing really cool stuff. He started it when he was 17 in high school. He's 25 now. and they're about to buy a couple $100,000 of testing equipment on traction, which I don't think I've ever heard of people talk about traction in shoes and testing. So they're doing really cool things. And so you guys want to check out RunRepeat.com, doing some cool stuff. But before we get into it, I'm trying to think of anything else. I think that's it.
No, I think that's it. This should be, I think what's really impressive to me is the amount of time and effort, energy, and resource they're still putting into the website.
Lots of resources.
So I think you'll love it.
So go spend a lot of money like Trey.
Spend a little, actually.
Yeah. Let's listen to our interview with Run Repeat.
Well, Jens, thanks again for taking some time to join us today. Excited to talk with you. And in fact, I was looking for some deals on the Run Repeat website this morning, so taking advantage of the opportunities this morning. But hey, would love to kind of just dive into your background a little bit and kind of what's your running background and how did you get started in running in the first place?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
It's an honor. Actually, I started running because I got injured playing soccer. So, and I had some back pain problems, and I figured out that I was not too bad a runner, and I always had the flexibility. And of course, when you're playing a lot of soccer, you also do some regular training besides. And as with any other sports, running is just a great fit. So I started running, and I was just running for myself. Never in any club or anything, until one day I did pretty intense workouts. It was I did like 3 times interval trainings per week.
Wow.
And 3 times resting, like very easy 3 kilometer days. And I was running intervals. I think it was 400 meter intervals, and the coach of the club, he was just watching me, but I didn't know he was watching because I always jumped the fence to go there because I was not part of the club and it was always closed. So I went there in the evenings and just trained. I just trained for myself, and I just loved to look at the watch and see, this was 1 second faster. That feeling of improvement, that was a kick for me. And he said, you're doing pretty good if I wanted to join the club. And actually, I wasn't really interested. But he came up with a suggestion to join a race with them, which was like the regional championship in cross country, just cross. And I was lucky enough to win.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that was a good start. And then I was running for 3 years. I have never been professional, never ever. And my best time is 15 minutes and 58 on a 5 kilometers.
Wow.
It's fast, but it's no near professional or semi-professional levels. I mean, it's very far from. But I've been a decent runner, but nowhere near any really good ones.
Yeah, that is extremely fast. So what do you kind of attribute from not being a professional or not being elite? Do you attribute the kind of the success you had to kind of your soccer background? I mean, do you think that had something to do with it?
I think that my general shape was great, and I lost some weight when I started running, and as you know, weight is a really key parameter. And then I just enjoyed it. Yeah. I think that was what helped me a lot. That I was not motivated from running with others or any social parts. I just enjoyed running for myself.
Yep.
So all this structuring, the numbers, I love numbers. So it's easier to do numbers and stuff when you run compared to when you do soccer.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But, yeah.
Do you have a favorite distance that you run?
Yes, I have. Now I have. So now I'm not as good as a runner now as I was back in the days. Yep. But my favorite now is 1 vertical kilometer. So I think that distance is so painful because when you do altitude training or when you go uphill, you activate bigger muscle groups. You activate more of the quad and more of the gluteus, the butt, butt muscles. Yep. You can say that. Compared compared to the lower leg when you do a long distance, for instance, on flat road.
Yep.
So, which means that you can typically get you can consume a lot more air, which presses you even more. So it becomes a lot tougher. And then I like the combination of running in the nature. So that's why it's my favorite distance, definitely.
Is there a particular way you train for that kind of vertical distance?
At the moment, for the past 5 years, I rarely use a watch, but I just go with it as it is, and it becomes so natural when you're running in the mountains, because when it goes upwards, your heart rate pumps pretty fast up there, and you get really, it gets tense. And so typically I love to do intervals.
Yep.
So just find a really, really steep hill and just do 300 altitude meters, maybe times 10.
Yeah.
That's a really, really, really tough workout, I'd say.
Now, do you typically enjoy the roads more? Do you enjoy the trails more? Do you have a preference?
I definitely prefer the trails.
Yeah.
But that's because of, I'm not against road running, and there are many great things in it, and you can standardize more. But on the trails, you have the nature experience as well. So for me, it's very much about the nature experience. That's why that's the primary reason why I prefer that, actually.
Yeah. As I know you mentioned before we went on air that you're getting ready to here soon to move to Sydney. Do you know what to expect in Sydney, Australia, as far as what the running is going to look like down there compared to what you've absolutely experienced and where you're from?
So now I live in Tromsø, which is the very, very far north part of Norway. Very cold.
Yep.
Snowing today, but lots of mountains, great nature, and of course I won't have the same opportunities in Sydney.
Yeah.
I think you have to go a bit further to get some really, really great nature running experiences, and it will be more flat. So let's see. The plan is to stay there for half a year, and then I can compare it better.
That's great. That's great. Well, tell us. We'd love to kind of dive into the RunRepeat website a little bit. I mean, we were playing around with it the other day, and where did the idea come from originally, and how did you just kind of talk to how you got started and where the idea came from?
Yeah. Okay. So I can start many years back.
Yeah.
I was 17 and I was running a lot, and in Europe. I'm in Europe, and prices of shoes in Europe are very different from country to country. Okay. Even the retail prices are very different, and it happens to be so that in Denmark and Norway prices are extremely high. So a lot of people buy from other countries, and I had bought a few pairs from a German supplier, and I asked him if I could resell his shoes, and so he gave me a good price, and then I started buying shoes from him, and so I built a very simple website where I sold running shoes to other Danish runners and made a small profit of that. I went from A+ in math to F, so that was in half a year, because I was so excited about this.
Wait, so how old were you when you were doing this?
17.
So you're in school. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. And I actually wanted to be an engineer, and I knew I had to pass math to be able to go to the university.
Right.
And it was my favorite class. Can't believe I went from A+ to F. So I ended somewhere around I think it must be around a C on your grade, which was okay. I had 1 week. My teacher told me, you have 1 week to prove yourself now. Otherwise, I'll give you a F. So so I had to study hard for 1 week and passed. So I had this store, and it went okay. Considering my age, it was a great success. Then I went to university, studied business administration, and I started another running store, which was in Denmark and Sweden. and I was bothered about two things with this store. One was that all the brands, most of them, were so scared of making business with us because they knew that we would show prices, or we would sell their products at a cheaper price. Yeah. And if you know anything about branding, you know that they will hate you dump prices. Right. So it was really hard for us to get the products we got from all the major brands. It went okay, but we never actually, very rarely made direct contacts with Asics or Adidas, for instance, or Nike. It was always through another retailer or something. So it was a lot of hard work. It bothered me so much, and it also bothered me that if I looked at what information we had about running shoes and what information was out there, it bothered me that there was no standardization, and most catalogs or most websites didn't really have much information on their product pages. So I thought that it would be great to standardize everything and then make everything, put numbers on as many things on a running shoe as possible. So with RunRepeat now, I'm very far from being there. Oh, one more thing. That was the one thing. The other thing that bothered me was that we had maybe 100 different running shoes, and of those 100, we had 5 which took up like 90% of all sales.
Wow.
And I was like, these 5 running shoes are not the best shoes, but everyone just bought them because those were the most marketed ones by the brands. And we buy what's popular, we buy what the brands dictate we should buy through marketing. So that was the other thing that bothered me, and that was why I created RunRepeat. It's not that I don't like brands, I love the brands. They are the ones who make the great products that we use. I just wanted some transparency. Yeah, so that was like why it was started.
Yeah. When we get into like the reviews and the rankings, where do all of those come from as you begin to rank and review them?
Yeah. So initially we didn't really have much data, but we got some media attention in New York Times and Wall Street Journal and stuff for some articles we did.
Now, how soon was that when you got media attention? So you started it when you were 17, and when did it really start?
Okay, RunRepeat is only 2 years old.
Okay.
So that's very recent.
Very recent. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And then the coverage started maybe one and a half year ago, I think.
Okay.
And we were super lucky to get some attention from those medias. And that was when the review started to go crazy. We had one challenge that it's always a big challenge. How much information should you ask of the reviewer? So initially we were asking many things about who is this person who is reviewing the shoe, the age, what other running shoes has this person been running in, how much is this person running per week, any injury information, foot strike, all of this information. You look scared.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Then we decided the problem was that we didn't really get many reviews because people had to add all this information. So we scaled it a bit down, and since we were not really big, we decided to keep it very simple, which is what you see now. So now it's actually, you could say, the users is actually just ratings. Mm-hmm. It's not real reviews, so you don't read reviews at the moment. And that was to get some mass on it. We've also had some problems where not all reviews are recorded and stuff like that, but so many technical challenges. Yeah. But I can say a bit of the future on the plan of the users is, of course, that we want more information on the reviews. We don't just want the ratings. Mm. So what will happen next is that we will have ratings information, which anyone can do, and then we will have review information where we will have more information about you as a runner, so that you can read reviews only from runners who blah 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 blah. So there will be many different filters, but I think we might have the size to make more details on this now, but until now it has been good just to keep it simple. And then we also included a lot of expert reviews where you do get some information. And recently we added, because we only had these user ratings, which was like, it's great to have a user rating and it can be super useful, but you also want to read something. What are the people saying? So what we've done now is that we spend, for each shoe, we spend around 8 to 10 hours, I'd say, just reading expert and user reviews around the internet. And then just making notes, how many are mentioning the lack of cushioning, how many are mentioning this. And then we put all that into a summary, which is like the good, the bad, and bottom line. So we put like the majority of runners think that the stability features of the shoe is lacking, or a few mentioned a tight forefoot fit. So we want to aggregate all this information, because if you go to Amazon or anywhere else where you want to read some reviews, you might see 10,000 or 1,000 reviews, and there's no chance you're going to read them. So we've done that for you and summarize it. But later we will also have the actual reviews.
Do you think that the website has helped, like with brand awareness? Because I just know from my aspect, there's certain brands that you hear, there's some tremendous shoes out there. And I'll just give you one, for instance, an Ultra. I had never even heard of it, never even seen it. I had a recommendation, and all of a sudden, you begin to branch out of what other brands are. Has there been more of a brand awareness because of the website, do you think?
So it's of course very hard for me to tell what everyday runners are thinking and how many of them has been at RunRepeat, but we definitely try to make each brand be listed on equal terms. Mm-hmm. So usually you see that if you go to a retailer, you'll see on the front page they will have banners for Nike, because Nike is 40% of the revenue. Yep. Of course they want to promote that, but we want transparency. Yep. So it's still the case that the most visited shoes are Nike, Asics, Adidas, of course. But I do think that the transparency will help many of the minor brands, and they do have some great shoes, but people don't discover them.
What do you think people look for in shoes over the years? I'm curious as to, as you've looked at ratings and reviews, if runners have specific things they're looking for when they're looking at shoes now.
Yeah. So did you say now?
Yeah.
Like at how the trend is?
I would say now, and maybe how the trend is too. We'd love to know both.
Yeah. Okay. So first, let me just say, if there's one thing, if you want to build a new running shoe company, and there's just one thing you want to focus on, it's comfort. Above anything else. Forget about anything else. Yeah. Comfort. That's key parameter number one. And I think that's what 70 to 80% of all reviews mention.
Wow.
What is the comfort of the shoe? So, and still many don't get it right. Many of the shoes, but of course you can get that information rather easy. So if you take a look at the trends, I think a huge trend that is and will be booming is, I might pronounce this wrong. Please correct me. Athleisure. So the word is called leisure, right?
Leisure?
Yeah,
leisure?
So
yep.
Athleisure.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. There you go.
Thanks. So athleisure shoes. So that's like the combination of running shoes with sneakers.
Yeah.
That combination. You've seen it with Nike Free and a few Adidas shoes, and that will just be booming. And you will see running shoes being more fashionable, less running shoes and more fashionable. That category will just explode. I have no doubt about that. Besides that, of course, we have had some time with maximalism running shoes. And if we compare that to the opposite, which was like in the zeros and starting from 2000, maybe the minimalism. What the minimalism did was that they put out a lot of research about why you should use minimalistic running shoes. The maximalism movement has not been doing that at all. But in both cases, you see that people get really interested in this as some key athletes are using these specific products, and then there might be one brand who is doing very well, for instance Hoka, and that makes the other brands do one or two maximalism shoes, and then gets popular. People might realize, okay, this is not the golden cure for running faster or running forever, and then they try another tactic or try some regular shoes. So we will see this curves all the time, and someone who thinks he has found out the cure for injuries, but the truth is that 90% of all injuries is due to your training and not due to your shoes.
That is such a huge point. I completely agree, because I think I've tried them all. I mean, I've tried the minimalist, I've tried the maximalist, and in fact, it was funny. I had on a pair of Hokas yesterday, and I was just actually walking around, and finally I was like, man, I was just gonna put on my regular shoes, and it's amazing. But you're exactly right. It's so easy to attribute all of it's almost a cop out, that to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go from 20 miles a week to 50 miles a week, and if I don't stay healthy, well, it can't be the increase in mileage. It has to be the gear, right?
Yeah. We're all about gear, but. It's just always usually just the intensity and the mileage, and we are just programmed in our head a way that we believe we are a lot better than what common knowledge is. Wow. So we train too hard, too fast, and that's when it happens. And I'm not here to be like the guy telling you how to do, and because I do it myself. I mean, I get so excited, and then I'm like, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great today. I'll do another interval or whatever. And then the day after, no, should never have done that. It's the shoes, right?
That's right. What do you look for in shoes personally? Do you have a preference and kind of what you're looking for in your shoes?
Yeah, so let me first of all say I'm not going to mention any specific shoes that I use myself, just to stay neutral. Yeah. I prefer comfort. After comfort, what matters to me is this might sound very, very basic, but traction, because I'm running a lot of on the trail. So if we take the trail part and separate from the road, on the trail part, of course, as you can imagine, I get so many shoes for free, and it's fine. It's great to try a lot of shoes. Yep. But if there's just one thing I get disappointed about, it's the traction. And so many times I've been running in shoes where I actually have been honestly thinking, this is dangerous. Wow. Running in these shoes, I'm slipping. Yeah. And these are marked as trail shoes and even as off-trail shoes. And on wet stones or grass, I'm just slipping around. I have no chance to stand here. It's dangerous. And that's why I get so disappointed in some specific shoes. So traction. But I think that's a personal thing. I think a lot of trail runners finds it important, but I just had so many bad experiences with bad traction. So, and that's actually why this is not anything that's out there yet. But I think in some time, I'd say 6 to 8 months, I'll have some great news for people who love traction, because of this, I decided that we will buy some machines to test different features of shoes. And one of the things we will be testing is traction. That's of course not the easiest thing to test, because you have to simulate a runner using the shoe and how he's moving and touching the surface. So I think the machine is around $200,000 just for the machine. So it's quite a big investment.
Yeah, it is.
But it would be very, very cool to get this information, and that way I will be able to give any runner that he will be able to see on any running shoe a scale from, we have not decided yet if it should be 1 to 10, 1 to 100, whatever, on how good traction the running shoe has. And we will be testing all shoes on different surfaces, dry, wet, trail, road, ice, to get all that information out.
I think what you mentioned is really key, and I completely agree with you, because a trail shoe under all conditions is not equal, because I think it was last year I did a relay race, but it was a trail relay race, and the shoe I was wearing, I was running on grass and it was fine, but then all of a sudden the next lap it just downpoured, and you would have thought I had on like bowling shoes or something. It was amazing, and you're like, you think that you're prepared when you're wearing a pair of trail shoes, but it's amazing what you begin to realize, that wow, it's not as good as I apparently thought it was.
No, exactly. And yeah, it would just be great to have a measure on this, and the same as with other things. And that's one thing that I want to do, that instead of reading a lot of text and information and thousands of websites, because you would need to do that to find out. Some people saying, oh, the traction was not good on whetstones. Yeah. But imagine if you just had a full database with all this information, right. Just a simple filter, click, go. And of course, one have to keep in mind that it's not always just best to have a 10 out of 10 interaction, because that might also mean that you get, I don't know how to say it, you get stuck a bit. Yeah. So it doesn't really let you go that easily. So, for instance, a road shoe, it would not make sense to have it a traction of 10. That would be a horrible running shoe.
Yeah.
Really. So, but on the roads, I think for me, what's most important is some great cushioning. Very simple. I like to feel good. I love racing flats, but I can't run all the day in those. Yeah. So I try to vary, to try different shoes and keep up with many different shoes and different kinds, to not to stress my body the same way all the time. And for other runners, I say you don't need 10 different pairs of running shoes, but and you don't need to. But if you run 20 miles or more per week, I definitely recommend you to have at least 2 pairs or even 3 pairs. Keep in mind that if buying 3 pairs of running shoes is not more expensive than one if you plan to run for years, because of course you don't use them that fast when you have 3 pairs. So, and also if you buy more pairs, it's great to not just jump into the new pairs and then use them from day one. Just get it into your rotation, use it maybe once every 6th run, then once every 4th run, every 2nd run, and then you have it into a routine. That was just 2 quick advice on that.
That's good. So we asked our audience for some questions for you. We were talking about your guys' site last week, and so we've got a couple I want to run your way, if that's cool.
What? Sorry.
We got a couple questions from our audience, and so we got one, and this you've been, I think, hitting in it or touching on it this whole time, from Anthony Lerma. He says, "What's the best way to determine what type of shoe to wear?" So you're looking at tons of them. How do you even go in? Do you just pick the top rated, or you figure out what you want to do? But what would you recommend on figuring out the right shoe?
Yeah, sure. I obviously get asked that a lot. I think it's always a great idea to try the shoes before you buy them. So I know that my site makes money from people buying running shoes online, and I'm highly biased in that way. I want everyone to go to RunRepeat.
Buy all the shoes. Right, yeah.
Yeah, buy all of them. But honestly, I'd say that if you're not familiar with the brand, it might be a great idea to try its use in a running store and then buy them there the first time. If you like them, you can buy them online next time and save money next time. But I'm not saying that, for instance, if you tried Asics and you want to try another Asics shoe, you should not be scared buying them online either. I think the local stores, they have a great community, but they also have a lot of influence on the brands. I think if you read what people think about online stores, then what you read is that 80% say, go to your local store, never buy online, shop local, support local. But what actually happens is that you see the majority, not the majority, but a lot more people buy online actually. Right. So those who buy online are more silent, whereas the locals are the ones saying a lot, and the local stores will be there forever. I have no doubt about that. But I do think they need some innovation. I think the innovation in running stores has not been greatly improved. But I think that's just great for them because that means they have such a big percentage of all the running shoe sales now. And imagine they are not even optimized for XYZ. So I think they just have lots of opportunities. Yeah. So in terms of finding the right running shoe, I would say if you're new to running, I'd definitely go to a store and try 10 different pairs of running shoes. You don't have to go to a running specialty store. You can even just go to a general sports store, try different shoes, and pick after comfort. There are many studies out there proving that comfort is the most important parameter also in terms of injuries and stuff like that. So that would be the first thing. And second, of course, go to RunRepeat and buy all of them.
You buy all of them.
And yes, I think what you did say earlier was right on the money. And I read this a few years ago, and I've tried it ever since. And I've got a rotation of shoes, and being able to try something different, because I do agree, if you're in a bad shoe and you're running in that same shoe every single day of the week, potentially you could get injured. But as you rotate shoes in and out and try different things, I've never been able to look at a pair of shoes I've run in the past 2 or 3 years and said, it doesn't work for me. Hey, if you run with that pair of shoe every other week or so, it's really not going to make a big difference, is it?
I agree. Yeah, definitely. And it's an easy thing to fix. If you ask someone who's injured, let's say you get an injury for 1 month, how much would you be willing to pay not having had that injury?
Right.
You would be willing to pay a lot for that. So I think it's a great investment.
Yeah, it's good. All right, we got a couple more questions. All right, so this one is coming in from Gregory Byerline. He's up in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Yeah,
he's close. So he says, this actually has to do with the reviews. So he's looking at the site, and I'm looking at it right now. He mentioned that several of the ones that are the top rated, they also don't have as many reviews. So like maybe the ones that have thousands of reviews are a little bit further down. So is there, if a shoe isn't as popular, is it almost easier for it to get higher and kind of how you guys rank it? Or what's your guys' thought on how you rank your shoes?
Yeah. Didn't he say the opposite?
So he said
that they have...
So he said they had fewer reviews, but they were, I guess, ranked higher, I think, when he was looking at it.
Okay. Let me just explain how the ranking works.
Okay.
So we really want niche models to be able to perform well in ranking.
Gotcha.
But we don't boost them. Actually, they have a disadvantage. So I'd say on general, I'd actually say that the more reviews, the higher they are in general, but it's a small correlation, you'd say. But what we do is that if a shoe has, it must have at least 5 reviews until it can get online.
Gotcha.
That's a requirement. Yeah. But 5 reviews is not a lot. And if I go to a shoe website and I see 5 reviews giving it 5 stars, I don't think it's necessarily a perfect shoe.
Right. Yeah.
So the statistical confidence is not really robust. So for shoes with really, really few reviews, we give a small punishment of 10% and 5%, depending on how many reviews they have. But after they reach a certain level, they don't get any adjustment. Same with the experts. If there's only one expert who has reviewed a shoe, we give a small adjustment of 5% as well. So we do some small adjustments, and then we weight the user ratings 2/3 of the total rating, and the experts 1/3.
Gotcha.
So I think it has just been a coincidence that he has seen some shoes that are doing well on the rankings.
Gotcha. So I could go in right now, and if I left a review, you said that weighs 2/3. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So some of these reviews are people just going to your site directly. That's not folks coming from other sites. Not all of them are coming from other sites. Is that right? The reviews.
Yeah. So the experts are from other sites.
Okay.
That's
gotcha.
Many of the different great experts that are out there, and then we direct traffic to them, and then you can go and read their full review if you want to,
okay, cool.
Or you can just get the snapshot of it. But the users, they have been at RunRepeat and rated the shoe there.
That's good. That's really cool. I know you said you wouldn't mention specific shoes, But were there? This is just for me. Were there any shoes? Because I imagine you kind of developed this algorithm and the ranking system, and then you kind of threw it to the shoes, and you looked at it for the first time. Where you're like, my gosh, like I never would have imagined that shoe would have gotten up there. Did any surprise you?
Yeah. So the Saucony Cohesion, for instance, that one is doing really great.
Yeah, it's number one right now.
Yeah. It's a budget shoe.
Yeah.
It's cheap. So of course, when you buy something that's cheap, you expect less.
Yeah.
Which might boost the score in some way. Actually, we did a study. I don't know if you've seen it, but we compared all our 130,000 user reviews with the price of the shoes. And we found that the more expensive the running shoes are, the more disappointed runners get.
Wow.
Yeah, that was quite funny. I was very surprised when I saw it. I was like, "Whoa! I must have done a mistake here."
Yeah.
But I'm quite sure it was right.
Was there like a optimal like price point where like if it's less than this, or did you guys look at that?
You couldn't really say that because it was pretty much a linear regression.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was not like that. But you can say on prices, if you run 10 miles a week, it's my honest opinion that you don't need a running shoe of $100 or $160 or $200 as some of them cost. You can buy a pair at $60 retail price. Maybe you'll get them online $30. And also, you don't need to buy this year's model. You have to. The different running shoes, they have versions. So there's Nike Lunar Glide 7 at the moment. Last year it was 6, then was 5, then was 4. So each year there's a new version of that shoe, and you don't really have to buy the most recent version. Of course, there's some fashion in it, and you'll be cool in the running club, etc. But the discounts are significantly larger on last year's model. One place where you have to be a bit careful is when they launch new models. So when there's a new model without a version number yet, Brooks launch, let's say it was the second version that just came out, then it might be significantly different from the first version. But you can imagine Nike Pegasus 33 can't be very, very, very different from 34. They don't want to disappoint their audience. Of course, they do make some adjustments, and people will always get disappointed in the new model, but the majority loves it.
That's cool. As we're kind of wrapping up here, what's next for you from the site side of things? Is there some stuff coming down the pipe you guys are excited about?
Yeah, there's so many things. So I think what I'm most excited about will be the slip testing and heel and forefoot cushioning testing. It will be energy return. That would be amazing because Adidas said, for instance, for their Ultra Boost, they said this is the highest energy return ever. So energy return when you bounce into the asphalt or wherever you're running and bouncing up, how much energy is transformed, and can actually measure that. And so many brands have already said that they want to join in on this, and that would be great to test all these things. Also, the stiffness and the stability features will we be able to test. That would be very great. And then so that's more facts, and then we will do some comparison. So it's always great if you have an idea of what running shoe you run. You might go to that running shoe and then you see, okay, it has some good reviews, but you might still be doubting, or how does this stack up with other running shoes? We do have some compare tools already, but some new things that we're working on is comparing it to averages. So if you are on Nike Structure, no, I mentioned so many Nike shoes now. Let's take another. Mizuno Rider. Yes. Let's take Mizuno Rider, a very popular choice as well. If you take that shoe, you might want to compare it to the average of other Mizuno running shoes or stuff like that. And so what we do a lot is that we experiment a lot. So we might put things online and then see, okay, no one really liked this, let's pull it off. And then we might experiment with other things. So we're experimenting a lot and trying many, many, many different things. And
that's awesome.
So that's
cool. Well, as we're wrapping up, what's the best way that folks can keep in touch with what you guys are doing, or outside of just going to Run Repeat, any other places you want to plug?
Actually, to be honest, if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see one Facebook update, and it says, thanks for coming here, but we focus on building Run Repeat and not a cool Facebook page.
Yep.
We focus on our website, and we don't focus on other medias. Unfortunately, not many other places, but
that's great.
We will in a month's time we will be putting some more recent features on Run Repeat, which means that when you go there, you will see more updates. For instance, on the front page, you'll see the newest added shoes, whereas now it's just a database, so you just see. You have to know what running shoes you pretty much want to look at. But later we will have more information, and we will have ranking information. For instance, then we will have like the changes. How has it changed during the past month or half a year? And so it will be more updated, you can say, in a way.
That's awesome.
So Run Repeat.
RunRepeat.com. That's awesome. Well, good stuff. Well, we had a blast chatting with you. Thanks so much for jumping on with us.
One more thing. One more thing. Anyone is, of course, very welcome to email me at jens@runrepeat.com. If there's anything, any questions, bugs, anything, just email me. I'm happy to get emails.
Yeah, that's JENS@runrepeat.com. Is that right?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Awesome. Well, we'll make sure to include that in the show notes, and we'll follow up with you when this is going out live. So thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we enjoyed watching the Galaga game.
Absolutely.
Thanks for letting me be part of this.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
We had a blast.
All right, thanks, Jens.
See you.